Before we get started, just please switch your settings on your chat so everyone can see what you type. That way, everyone can see what you type and not only me. So that will be more friendly and interesting for everyone. Also, before we get started, as always, a quick disclaimer. We're going to be trading live market conditions. So the way if we're going to take any trade, it's not meant to be taken on your own accounts or to be replicated. I want to show you some techniques, how I analyze and read the markets, and some trade management techniques and risk management techniques that you can use on your own situation. This doesn't mean this is the only way to trade or the best way to trade for your situation. And the concept that we might show here, you can apply it on all time frames, since market are fractals and same patterns and same supply and demand zones, key levels. We can find those in all time frames. So just be careful and responsible for your own trading. And with that being said, let's get started over here. As usual, and as always on Mondays, we want to give you a weekly perspective. Also, part of your routine should be checking the news calendars. Just let me show you very quickly that one, because look at how many high impact events we have on today. So just about now, Powell will be speaking, so that might increase volatility in the market. And we have another speech tomorrow, and a few events, Wednesday, and then Thursday we have high impact events on franc and the Canadian and the pound, and the Euro Zoom coming on Friday. So all these events might bring a lot of volatility to the markets, and those might cause new trends in the market and new movements. So it's very important that you are aware of those events. Okay, so let me just go back to the charts. So with that in mind, I'll go through the major pairs on the daily charts to give you a long-term perspective, and then we can try to find an opportunity maybe on lower time frames. So we'll see what we got. Also, guys, we're very excited because we are just starting to launch the new platform, which is the MT5. We are very excited. It's a much better platform than the MT4. I know it's less known than the MT4, and most Forex traders, they are used to the old version of the MetaTrader, the MT4. But actually, the MT5 has a lot of advantages and many things that will be more beneficial for you and for us, and we will provide better executions and better protections against widening spreads over the weekends or overnights. So a lot of features. There's a calendar integrated here, so you can follow up high impact announcements on your charts, and you have depth of market that we didn't have on the MT4. The only maybe disadvantage for all of you who trade on the with EAs or robots or bots or something that they are programmed for MT4, those cannot be run through the MT5. But all of you who don't use any EA, the MT5 will be a better experience for you as traders. You will also have a browser platform, the MT5, so you will not have to have this installed in your computer. To download the computer, you will have a web platform. Okay, so you can trade from Google Chrome or whatever is your internet browser. So you don't have to actually install it and download it and whatever. So it will be a great improvement in trader experience. Yeah, it looks like TradingView. Actually, if you go, for example, just a few examples. If you go to the time frames here, you can customize, and you can add the 2-minute chart and the 10-minute chart and the 2 hours charts. Charts that you can maybe some of you are familiar from trading view. So now you can have it on your MT4. And we're slowly discovering things, but even the data we can provide on the MT4, we were very limited on the amount of data, the time you can go back in time to do your analysis. And here on MT5, we can go years and years and years back in time for a better back testing and reading and analysis of the market. So I think will be a great improvement. Indicators, you have, I think on MT5 you might have even more indicators. So if you have, if you go to the list and look at the, all the basics one, of course you have it, and you have a lot of indicators, and of course there's more to be downloaded from the internet. So you'll have, most of visually and almost everything is pretty much the same, but with some cool improvements. Depth of market that we have on MT4. You can have the tick charts here open if you use these ones. And a lot of things, like slowly we'll discover this and we'll give new releases. But I invite you, unless you have a robot and or an EA running for you and trading for you, I think you will enjoy this. I believe you will enjoy this platform. Yeah, it's smoother, it performs better, and yeah, we'll try. We'll go with this one. Okay, let's get into it. Let's start with the Euro USD. I believe there's a speech right now from Powell, so we might see spreads going a bit wild. Let's start with the Euro USD. The Euro USD has been trapped in this consolidation. We had this sell-off two weeks ago, and then on my trading room we were discussing about the possible scenarios of this. So it was either this a pullback to a continuation, or it might go sideways, and then we'll decide if it either will eventually break to the upside, or if it will break to the downside from this range. When will it break? No idea. To what direction? No idea. But if we try to identify like key levels and supply and demand areas on the daily chart, I don't see a lot. Of course, you have the limit ones. Supply over here, and we could argue this is a demand area. But we would have to go to lower time frames to really find more key levels. So let's do that quickly on the hourly chart. So in the hourly chart, we have some areas more visible. So we have, this supply area over here, and we have this demand over here. So those are opportunities to either sell or either buy. Just we need to make sure, and we need to see how strong the break of this range will be, because a fundamental break on the hourly chart might break this hourly supply over here. So we need to wait and watch how prices approaches that 1 hour supply area to then decide if we go short or we skip on the trade, because price is going to continue to the upside. And then of course we have this, let me zoom in a little bit. We have this supply over here. Let me mark it for you. Which is this tail here on the daily. So those are supply, supply, supply. And on the bottom part, we have demand here. I think there's some demand over there if we go to lower time frames, and demand over here. So we need to see and wait how prices eventually break off this box here of these ranges. Until the break happens, we can go to lower time frames and actually trade the limits. So wait for price to reach this level here, and then sell, or wait for price to reach this demand. We saw there's demand over here, and buy. Okay, and as long as price is contained inside those ranges, we can take advantage of the sideways movement, and paying close attention to those fundamental announcements, because those might cause a breakout of this range right here, and might bring prices to either to the upside to test these highs here, or to the downside to either this demand here or that demand down there. Okay, so that's for the Euro USD. Let's see what's going on the pound dollar. See, similar scenario. We are, the overall trend. We are on this overall uptrend, but we are again contained on those limits. We have not been able to either break this 1, 2, 3 times, or this bottom range 1, 2, and we're approaching it for the third time. Let's go to the 1 hour chart to see if we can find some demand areas. Okay, so there's a nice one over there. And let's see if there's some demand. Okay, not here. Let's see if there's something back. Okay, so those are the demand areas I see on the hourly chart. Okay, so those lines. So a break of those levels to the upside should lead us to that line, which is a demand area. And if that doesn't hold, then to that level right there, that line, which is another demand area. And a break to the upside should lead us all the way to these highs right here that we saw. That's the supply area. Let me see if there's some supply, older supply. On the daily, not super clear. Of course, we have here. And we have a mid-range supply, but we have already tested that one. Let me double check that. Yeah, so that's not a valid one. Okay, forget about that one. But we do have that line there. So yeah, we're not far from that. Maybe that was the reaction of that supply, but there's more room for that supply also to react. Where's the upper line? That would be there. Yeah, 120 pips. So my bias, I want to say I'm because of the last movement, I want to, my bias is to the upside. But again, with these ranging markets, we have to be cautious and look for signs and signals. If this is going to eventually break to the downside, I will have an opportunity to buy, or if this is going to break to the upside, and see how it reacts to that supply area. Pound dollar short, do you go on the candle close or do you go on the first touch? I go with the first touch, but I prefer to see how prices gets to that area. So I usually set an alarm for when price, you set an alert here. So when price is reaching that area, and then I see how strong is price going to that, approaching that level. Because if price starts, approaching this level, but with a slowing momentum or with a compressionary movement, then I will short. I will set up a sell limit and I will short. But if there's a fundamental break of this range, and there's a huge candlestick just going all the way up because of an announcement, I might hold on my blind entry. Okay, so for me, I do like to see how price approaches those areas and then decide if I go with a limit order or if I execute manually. Yeah, I look what leads to the level and how prices get to that level. Okay, we have New Zealand USD. Yeah, pretty choppy market, not much. Let's see if we have, I'm sure we'll find some demand right there, but let's go to lower time frames and let's see what we find. Let's see if there's something else. Yeah, nothing very clear here. There will be some orders there and some resistors over there, but the demand area is up here. Let me see what else we have. If we have fresh demand as well. Yeah, so demand is consumed. You see this demand I found on the hourly chart is all the way back here. So there's more supply. I see more supply here. I saw one supply over there, and we have this supply here, but I struggled to see clear demand. I guess there will be some support levels and price might bounce off there, but I didn't see any clear demand. So the last movement has been to the upside, but this might be the exhaustion of the movement higher. Actually, if that breaks to the low side, that might form a kind of a Quasimodo pattern. That would be a reversal pattern. So specifically for this pair, for New Zealand daily, I think I would be more inclined to go short on the pair. Which I'm struggling to say that because all the fundamentals of the euro, of the dollar, should be pointing to a weakening dollar, and for some reason we haven't seen that reflected in price. So I need to remind myself that I need to trade what I see and not what I think. So although I think the dollar should be weakening during the next months, what I see is a dollar strengthening, and at least what the market tells me. Aussie, very similar. We can see, you can see almost the head and shoulders pattern forming here. So we have this left shoulder, we have the head. There will be, I'm sure we'll go to the lower time frames and we'll find some strong supply over there, and that might be a supply area as well. Let me double check that. Yeah, it looks similar to the kiwi. So if that triggers the pattern, we need to find the neckline, and this, for complete the pattern, would have to test these levels here and probably a break to the downside. Okay, if this continues higher, then that might react to that supply there and then form, if this goes all the way to these levels, then we have this supply here and maybe a reaction for a potential double top, which also would be a a reversal pattern. But not super clear levels lately. We're on these big ranges, and market very, very choppy and undecisive if it wants to go up and down, which I guess is the the essence of the forex market, to be a sideways market more than a trending market, I mean a transactional market. So we should know how to take advantage of those long-term sideways movements. Eduardo, can we get to Euro US Aussie? Yeah, we'll go there. Just give me a sec. We'll go through this the majors, and we'll go to that one. The dollar CAD. This is very interesting. If look at this for a second. This is the dollar yen. Okay, look at this compressionary market we had for months. When every time there was a supply created, there was a reaction. It was tested every time, and so all supply was consumed over all these channels, this compressionary movement to the downside. And once that channel broke, you can see how aggressive was the movement to the upside, correct, on the dollar yen. Something similar happened with the euro, with the dollar franc. We had this compressionary market channel, especially these late stages here. So every time there was a push lower, there was also a push higher. So all demand and special supply was consumed. Once we had a break of that level, it was very aggressive. And something similar to this stage and to this stage right here has been forming on the dollar CAD. So you can see how this is not, we could not call this as a trend. Of course, there's a down movement, but you can see how every time we have supply formed, it has already been tested, okay, consumed. So every time that happened, supply consumed, already reacted to that area. And then if we had already new supply over there, so we have already tested. Okay, so every push lower has a push higher that consumes that supply. But here we have not seen the push higher, the break higher, the break up, as we saw on the franc and on the yen. So will that happen? Well, I'm not sure, but it might happen. If we go and see where can we find older demand, that might trigger that. So we have here demand. Let's mark that. Oops. And of course we have this demand right here. So let's see, where are we now? Okay, so we are very, very close to that first line, which might be a demand area, and we're a few pips away from the second demand. Of course, anything can happen, and we might continue just trading inside this channel, and price will go to this area. It will face, trend line support and supply here, and then might go down to a deeper push lower. But at some point, this channel needs to break. And these compressionary markets tend to break to the opposite side, of opposite direction from where they are being created. So a down compressionary channel usually tends to break to the upside because there's no supply. We said supply has been already consumed, but there is fresh demand to be met already. So at some point, we could expect a break to the high side, but that's to be said and to be seen already. So I'm on the sidelines on this market. Let me clean a little bit here. Frank, we had a break, we mentioned it, and we stopped right at the beginning of this supply right here, okay, that you can see. And then if we go through this push higher, and if we go to lower time frames, we will find some interesting demand that we can buy from. We have demand on the daily there, demand there, and of course demand over there. But if we go to lower time frames, we can try to find more specific demand areas. So we can find demand there. That's a nice one. And you can see the demand over there. Nice one. Okay, so pullbacks to that area, those will be nice opportunities to buy. So pullbacks to, and especially this compressionary channel we're forming, if that continues going, slowly down, we can, wait for a price to reach those areas, and then the continuation higher, either from here, or all the way from the daily demands we hear. Okay. Same exercise I would do on dollar yen. If we go to lower time frames, I'm certain that we will find demand areas. We are now reacting to that supply right there. You can see how precise is that. Okay, how it stopped there, and now it's basing, correct? So we have the rally, the base, and after a base might be a drop or a continuation. Okay, a rally. Those are the pattern, the possible patterns. So we expect a breakout of those levels, either to the upside or to the downside. I would be more inclined to buy, so I would go to lower time frames and I would look for demand areas. Not my favorite, that one. Here are less clear than on the Frank, I guess. Let me see if there's something clear. No, less clear. So on the daily, it looks very, very powerful, but I couldn't see any strong demand besides that one right there. So we can either try to take advantage of the break lower or the continuation to the upside, and a break higher would take the prices all the way to those levels right there. Okay, to that supply over there. And let's maybe finish with this one. The pound yen has been in a very strong uptrend. Now it's a little bit overextended. That's why it doesn't surprise me to see this formation. And on the hourly chart, we see kind of a reversal pattern because we finally broke, some losses where we are forming now lower highs, but the overall trend is still to the upside. So I would like to keep buying this market. You can see some demand areas. So here we have plenty of demand areas to buy. On any push higher, we have opportunities to buy and align ourselves to the overall uptrend. Yeah, so there was a request to go to the Euro CAD. Let's do that. Euro, yeah, Euro Aussie. So I'll do this one. Just wait for the update. There's a lot of data to be processed, so the first time you load a chart might take a few minutes. Yeah, David, you go to a buy on the dollar CAD. I'm with you. I think there's more chances for this to, on a long-term, break higher than a break lower. We have seen a lot of attempts of breaking lower, like here. That would have been a break to the downside, and then an immediate, rejection to the upside. And we have seen that many times. Same here. Last week we had this break lower, and then this bullish candlestick. So my way of reading this tells me that long term we will break to the upside eventually. Let me see if that, yeah, great. No, still processing here. Yeah, so Euro CAD. I don't know what time frame are you looking at, Eduardo, but you can see very clearly this demand that was formed, but we have already tested that. We have already reacted to that demand right here. So if prices goes again to that area, it might break lower. So just be aware of that. But the way it's going there, you can see how, at least on the 4-hour chart, you can see again the compressionary movement. There's no clear movements besides this one right here, or this down movement and this up movement. This all compressing. So they will eventually break to either side because of if there's enough unfilled orders here to push this one higher one more time, it might eventually break to the upside, because supply has been consumed through all this channel right here. We have, of course, this supply over there and all the way to the tops. Cat franc. But Eduardo, I think the most important thing is that if you have a strategy and it's signaling you to go long on the pair, you should go with your strategy. This is not a pair I follow, or I trade constantly. So if you have a strategy that you have tested and trust, and it's telling you to go short or long, you should follow and trust your strategy. Otherwise, you won't find out how good is on the long run. That's important thing. Loading. I went ahead. I went here to the options, and I changed this max Parson chart to unlimited. So there's a lot of data now that might be processed. So it might take a few minutes before you before your charts load on the first time. Let me see if I can wait. We can show trading view something. Let's see, chart. I think, Mariko, you're looking to short. Just let me share that one. Yeah, so price approach, let me clean this a little bit. That supply over there, and that's why we see the reaction right now. So a short trade is a valid one. I also don't see any demand here. Let me see if there's, you know, this was a powerful movement to the upside. So this won't reverse that quickly, but there might be some reaction to the upside. Let me see if there's lower time frames, if we can find some demands. So we have, you see this demand over here, and we have this demand over here. So we're currently, you know, on this support area. You can see that it used to be a resistance that broke, and it now has been forming a support level. So this might hold right there where price is. This might hold, and we can see a push higher. But if this breaks to the downside, expect a drop all the way to that demand area. If we're trying to fine tune it, yeah, that would be the area. And that would be if I was short, that would be my target there. And given the overall trend to the upside, then I would be looking to buy close to those demand areas. That would be my plan on this chart. So I like the short. I like the fact that there's, you know, supply over there, and there's supply over there. So the short is a valid trade, but the overall trend for me is long. So I might keep, my bias would still be to the upside. Yeah, no worries. What, Fatty? Have a nice week, trading week. Yeah, I don't see a compressionary movement to the downside, Marinko. I think if this breaks, this might just break. Yeah, we already looked at the dollar CAD. Let me just go back to my charts. And the bottom line, we're compressing to the downside, and we expect a break higher. You see these little flags over here? Let me go here. So these little flags are news announcements. If you don't like those ones, you just go here to the calendar, delete all events, and those will go away. Now, guys, let's try to do an exercise on lower time frames, just to have the opportunity to, you know, short-term time frames analysis. If we see this chart like this, it looks very similar to probably, let's clean this. Okay, look how similar they look. We have the push higher, and now we're kind of flagging, okay, ranging to the sideways. Same here. Let's clean. We have a push higher, and then we're moving sideways, correct? So that's the daily chart. Now look at the Euro USD on the 5-minute chart. We have a similar similar chart, okay? We have the push higher, and now we're moving sideways. So we can approach lower timeframes the same way we approach higher timeframes. So we expect a break of those levels eventually, correct? I don't know when the break will be. So if I don't think there will be a breakout, I can buy as long as prices touches these lines here. I can buy if I don't see the market is ready to break to the downside, or I can wait for price to break and reach a new demand area. So I can wait for price to go that low or that low and buy from those areas. And that would be exactly the same trade I'm waiting for days on the daily charts. I just take it on lower time frames. Okay, so I will see I'm jumping early to this trade. Let's see how that behaves. So I'm jumping early. I need to wait for this candlestick to eventually close. And if I see the market will leave that tail, then I will trail my stop to the to this level. I will trail it, but I need to wait for the candle to close. And if that if that leaves the tail there, then I will move my stop loss to this area, and of course my take profit also needs to be somewhere around those areas, because we don't think there will be a breakout. If we want to try to swing that one, or if we were on a trending day, then we could take the take profit higher and then take the swing. Now, if I see there is a break, so I want to get off the trade, correct? I don't want to hold that position. I jump earlier, okay? And if I see there's a break and a continuation, so I will just get out of the trade and look for a new trade, which would be waiting for price to come all the way to those levels and then to buy those levels down there. Okay, that would be the approach. So that's the plan. We have 2 more minutes for this candle to close. It looks like it's going to be a true breakout. So if that breaks, I will close the trade. I'll take the loss. And if this forms a tail, and there's time for that, we have 2 more minutes, so it might end up forming a tail, then I'll hold my trade open. David, yeah. David, I understand what you say about the confidence, but it's something you will develop with practice. So, of course, you have the trading rooms, almost every day available to gain more confidence. But eventually, with practice, you will eventually gain the confidence. Marinko, I'm not sure what's my average stop loss, like in terms of pips, or what do you mean? David, on the 5-minute chart, the triangle method of those demand zones to buy up. Yeah, the same way I approach the larger time frames, I approach the lower time frames. That's exactly the same. So I jumped early without confirmation to that trade. It looks like it's going to be a break, and I need to get out of this trade. And with and that's the risk of jumping early to trades. But the trade and the setup would be waiting for price to reach these areas or these areas and then buy. And if we had more time, we could go through to fixing trade techniques, maybe we'll leave that for another session, because there's a lot of ways of managing an open position. And if you haven't seen that, go to the webinar where I explained, how to manage a losing position, because there's a lot of ways to manage a position once if it's going against you. So of course I can take the loss. That would be a 3 pip loss, not big deal. Or I could take partial losses. So I can go ahead here and I can modify, and I can take partial losses. Correct? We're very used to take partial. We're very used to take partial winnings and letting our winnings run. Correct? Part of our winning trades to run in our favor, but we're not willing to do that on our losing trades. So that's something I use very often. I start pinning out my losing trades the same way most traders, they peel off their winning trades. So I do that on my losing trades. So I save money, and now I have more flexibility. I have very little position that I can manage, and I can, fix this trade, or I can just take the loss, and no big deal. Marinko, on the chart, when I open a position, where do I place? Where I place my stop losses, it really depends on the setup. So if I'm going to trade this area right here, so I will be looking to buy around that area, and my stop loss needs to be below that area. So somewhere there. Or if I'm starting slow, my stop loss needs to be, below the last pivot, last swing point. That's where my setup just breaks down, and I need to get off the trade. But it really depends on the setup on the chart. I don't use a fixed stop loss. Increase demand has been used up on the pound. $1.37. I guess this demand you're relating to. No, above. That's the 37278. Yeah, I'm not sure there's demand. Yeah, so that's that. I'm not sure there's demand there already. It's a tricky one because the demand area is kind of here, but we have tested it once and now twice. I'm not sure there will be any demand there. We could go to lower time frames and look for that. If I find it. Yeah, no, I don't see any demand here. So I guess all that area, it's only support level that might hold. I'm not saying it won't. The overall trend has been to the upside, so there might be this support might hold, and we might see this reversing and going up, but I don't see demand left there. Yeah, so that might break to the downside and then go into those demand areas that we pointed before. Yeah, now we have on the 5-minute chart new information, correct? We didn't have this information. We didn't know this. Okay, we didn't know what was going to happen on the next candle. But that might actually form a kind of a false breakout. Let's see what's going on there. So this might either turn into two scenarios: a break, a test of the breaking area, and a continuation lower, or this might be a false breakout. How that looks? Yeah, it looks like it's going to go lower, but on the 5-minute chart, that might be a false breakout, and then there might be some, follow up to the upside. Either scenario, my stop loss now needs to be there, because I don't want to hold. Now I don't want to hold the next leg lower, because that will lead the markets to this area. So there's no point for holding that that long. I can close the trade. Okay, I'm break even now. I'm just 1 pip down, so I can close, and reset up, or I can hold, if this is a false breakout on a 5-minute chart. So we might see, a push higher, and markets going, with the trend. Today we have been moving to the upside. So we might see some push higher, and I can hold the trade open. Any scenario is a very tiny position, so I'm not really worried about it. So this same trade management, guys, you can apply it on the larger time frame. So I want to give you an example on lower time frames. So same way I approach this 5-minute chart, we can approach then our higher time frames, that we have a similar setup, correct? How do I determine the false breakout? So if this candle that was a real breakout, we should have seen some follow through, follow through in the same direction, all the way to next demand available, which is low here. But exactly after the breakout, we had a push higher, so that would be a false breakout. And after false breakouts, you might see what you're seeing right now, which is the movement on the direction of the false breakout. Okay, so guys, that's it for today. Thanks for coming. And tomorrow, Snare will be with you, and then on Wednesday, there's no trading room, but there's a webinar that Gil will be hosting. So don't miss that one. And have a nice week, guys, and good trading, and see you next week. And thanks for coming, guys. Bye-bye.